And we are on Aijin's shrine, the mighty Almiraj, the unicorn rabbit. Uh, this shrine is one of the shrines that actually inspired me to sit down and make these videos, and hopefully I can explain why. So, as before, I will go through the layout of this and then give my commentary afterwards. So, getting right into it, we open up with the standard. There is a door, it has inscriptions above it that give a hint. Again, I don't think the hint on this one is particularly useful in actually solving any puzzles. Um, it might be kind of useful for the tile floor, uh, but I kind of leave that to you to decide if it is useful or not. There is also an Almirage outside that will potentially scurry away. You can probably run it for cuteness. Interestingly, there's no random combat either here or anywhere inside this shrine, so it's a nice change of pace from a lot of what we see in a lot of modules. But once the players pass the door, they come to a puzzle floor, which I will open up here. Um, and there's a couple effects here. Basically, you need to step on a different animal every time. And if you step on the same animal more than once, poison darts fire at you. Uh, Throwing a bit of a curveball into this is the first time somebody steps on an Almirage tile, they will get some temporary hit points. Um, if you manage to get across the tiles without touching them, it has no effect. And I will come back to this floor after I finish describing the rest of the tomb. And if you're using Roll20 or Foundry or something like that, note that this map is tipped sideways. So the door is actually to the bottom, and the shrine itself is on the left side of the screen, depending on your orientation. So just be aware of that when you start to run this. It can be a little jarring to flip this out on the players. So once you get past that puzzle floor, either by correctly solving it or just eating a bunch of arrow shots, you get into this labyrinth. There's actually not a lot going on here. There's a whole bunch of X's. All the X's are pressure plate traps that release an axe. If somebody doesn't step on the pressure plate, it does nothing. Um, and then once you get to 10D, the puzzle cube room, you can just pick it up and move and go. There's no secret to getting this cube besides just getting in and out. And that's the entire shrine. I think there's a couple of one maybe main challenge I have with this shrine. Well, two main challenges. The first one is depending on how you're running this game. If you look at the map, the layout here of the tiles inlaid into the floor really does not match the description in the book very well. Or at least I don't think it does. There's definitely 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. On the map, it's showing 10 tiles long. If we look at the handout, it's actually 8. So you have to stress to the players that the handout is the accurate map. And also, the tiles are probably about 2.5 feet. There is no edge space, as is kind of apparent on this map. I love Mike Schlee's maps, but I think there's a couple cases where I'm not sure if the final design was communicated before the maps were drawn. This might be one of them. The second issue in this room that I ran into, and I got into a debate with a couple of other DMs about it, is as written, when you cross the floor, if you ever step on the same animal tile twice, the darts activate. There's no mention of it resetting on the way out. So if you want to be a maybe tougher DM, anybody walking back out is going to get shot a bunch because I think there's a few paths through this floor. For example, if you actually go, I think, straight up this furthest west side, you can actually safely just walk right down that path and take no shots. Um, I'm not sure if any of the others do. I haven't gone through all the permutations of this. I think you'll see a problem similar to this happens in the actual Tomb of the Nine Gods, where there's multiple correct paths on another puzzle floor. But that said, once the players move through, when they move back, be ready for the question, hey, I figured it out on the way in. I'm going to do the same path on the way back. And then they get shot 8 times, right? Like I think that could be very dissatisfying. There are other DMs that disagree, and the argument there is that this is proper planning. If you see how a trap works one way, you should be ready and thinking about how to deal with it on the way back out. I played it where they could follow the path both ways, and as long as they used the same path out as they used in, there was no penalty to the players, no trap activation. So I think those two issues, the map not really agreeing between the handout and the main map, and I think, to me at least, the ambiguity of how this trap works on the way back out are just worth considering and having in your head when you sit down to run this, so that you don't have an embarrassing moment like I did, where it's just like, wait a minute, does the book say anything about that? Well, I don't know. But that is Aijin's Shrine. I do like the floor. I think the labyrinth is a little lackluster, because it's not really that labyrinthine. I think there's some much better options. One thing you could look at is if you are running, I believe it's on DM's Guild, there's a module about Razenzi's Palace in the NC Wastes, and there is a fantastic and smaller labyrinth in that is much more dangerous, and a lot of fun to run, that kind of puts something at the end of each dead end to get the players involved. So if you're looking to kind of spice this up, and you like the theme of Mazes of Ubteo, it would be great to look at. I think it's like Whispers in the Wastes or something like that. If you go to DM's Guild, you can find it. It's fantastic. I'll try to put it in the show notes. But yeah, that might be one way to spice this whole thing up. And I think that covers Aijin's Shrine. So thanks for watching.